Well, let's find out more about this, news flow on the sugar companies. Remember, the government has asked sugar mills to not use sugarcane juice for ethanol output in this 23-24 period. This would result in a lower diversion towards ethanol, and it could impact the profitability as well. Prashant Biyani of Elara Securities joins us now to put focus on this. Prashant, thanks for joining in. Can you just explain to us, for the benefit of our viewers, this curb on ethanol production? How would it impact, the listed entities, the sugar mills, and what is the impact particularly on profitability? Have you done any numbers?
Yeah, so sugar production for the companies will increase. It can increase to the extent of 10 to 15%, and ethanol volumes are going to be lower. Now, depending on which company we are discussing about, but for some companies which are under coverage, the sugar production could increase by around 14 to 15%, whereas ethanol volumes can be down by around 20-25% over the next 18-month period. For H2 24, the numbers may not be that impacted, but the main impact we are seeing could be in H1 FY25.
Okay, got it. All right. Hi, Prashant. Thanks so much for joining. Request you to stay with us. Kaustubh of Sharekhan as well joins us on the show. Hi, Kaustubh. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining in. Well, Kaustubh, I wanted to get one basic number out first. Out of the total ethanol that we get from the sugar industry, break it up for us. How much is from B, C, and from sugarcane for the industry on the whole?
So approximately around 65% of ethanol is manufactured through B-heavy molasses, and around 25% is manufactured from syrup, and rest is from the CAV.
So basically,
now what? Yeah.
Sorry. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So now the notification suggests that you cannot manufacture it through syrup, but you can manufacture through B-heavy molasses. So that shift will be there from syrup to B-heavy molasses.
So that is, Kaustubh, so that in percentage terms, just to take that point forward, what percentage is impacted? 25%. 25%.
25%. Yeah.
Okay. Prashant is also with us. Prashant, to take your point forward, you said sugar volume should increase, ethanol should go down. What does it mean for, you would have done numbers for companies under your coverage. Just give us some sense on both, on earnings. What is the impact for the top companies under your coverage?
So for top companies, overall the EBITDA can be impacted between 4% to 25% over the next 18 months between H2 24 and FY25. Now, the most important thing is that, what assumptions we have to build in for B-heavy ethanol contracted quantity, which companies might have got in the tender. So if the B-heavy ethanol tender volumes are high, then the impact on EBITDA could be less. If that is low, then the impact could be high on the numbers.
So, Prashant, you said that the sugar production could increase by 14 to 15% in the coverage universe. Can you name the companies? Which are the companies where the sugar production will go up, and which are the names where the EBITDA can be impacted between 4 to 25% in the next 15 months?
So for Balrampur, in our preliminary estimate, we expect around 15% increase in production. But depending on various percentages, sugar production will increase for all companies in India, and ethanol volume should also reduce because that is how the government wants it to be. So depending on the size of the company, all companies will see decline in ethanol volume if capacities are same, and sugar volume should increase.
And the EBITDA impact will be on which companies?
EBITDA impact also should be on all. It could be negative. It may happen that for south-based companies based out of Maharashtra and Karnataka, for them the impact could be limited because they were anyways getting impacted with lower production this year. So for them, lower ethanol volume may be a bit better in terms of opportunity because sugar prices are higher. So that way, their product mix may be a bit better than what we were earlier expecting.
Prashant, do you think this event, because it brings back a lot of uncertainty, it'll be a de-rating event of the multiple? Would you go that far, or do you think that since you believe that it's a near-term event and maybe there'll be relief that will come about, you'll think the multiple itself will not de-rate?
Multiple should not derate because government has been a bit concerned about the sugar production, and while it has created a lot of confusion, but at the end of the day, the sugar production is increasing in India by only 6% in my view, with due to this. And for FY24 itself, we are not seeing any change in estimates for our coverage companies. So I don't see a derating of multiples due to this event.
A couple of more questions. Kaustubh, if you can, in a minute, tell us what is the difference between, very simplistically speaking, the different categories of ethanol, and why is the government kind of focusing on one, saying you can't use this and you can use the others? Very briefly, Kaustubh.
Yeah, so we need to understand why government has taken this step. So it is basically they are expecting lower sugar production for this year, which is expected to be lower by around 8% by the earlier numbers. So around 29 to 30 million ton production is expected after diverting sugar to ethanol. And overall consumption is expected to be around 28 to 29 million tons. So that gap has reduced a lot. So, and because of that, they are expecting that it might lead to inflation in the sugar prices. Now, if we don't divert sugar towards manufacturing of molasses, it might help to see production to be higher, as the participant said that it might increase. So there might be, the production would be around 31 to 32 million tons. So that gap, compared to the production and the demand would be a little bit higher, and that will help the inflation to curb. But this is too early because the production is yet to be out. The entire production numbers are important from the month of December to March, to analyze the same.
Prashant, is it possible, because sugar has always been politically very sensitive, and elections are coming. Is it possible this is a temporary measure?
It will be a temporary measure if there is no intermittent change in notification, maybe at the end of January or maybe after that. But this notification is valid only for 1 year. So from next year, it would be business as usual for the companies. So, it is not a game-changing event for sugar companies. It is only a temporary measure.
Okay. Finally, if you can tell us, Kaustubh, what is your estimate on how much the earnings for FY25 are likely to come down for the industry? Because there are some estimates suggesting that a 10 to 15% drop in overall earnings for FY25 is what they're looking at. Is that a reasonable assumption, or could it be worse?
Yeah, so there are a lot of factors which will determine the earnings in FY25. So this is one of the measures which the government has come out with. But ethanol pricing is yet for sugar season 2023-24 is yet to be announced. Secondly, the average, the state advisory price for the cane in Uttar Pradesh is yet to be announced, and how the production and the sugar price overall scenario would be. So these three factors would be very important to determine, what could be the earning assumption for FY25. And as we are discussing that, this measure, whether it is a temporary measure or it is for the overall year, everything depends on for the entire sugar season. Everything depends on that. So if government might change its decision, maybe at fag end or for around February, March, looking at the overall production scenario, the numbers might be different. So at this, obviously, the impact would be there on the margins, and because of the lower ethanol production and shift to the BAV molasses. But it is very difficult to guess at this junction what could be the exact impact, because all this we are building on the assumptions.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it there, gentlemen. Prashant and Kaustubh, appreciate you joining in with that initial assessment, but thank you very much indeed.